My childhood best friend died in a car crash, but I always felt like he was still with me. I'd doze off in class and a phantom hand would tug my ear. I'd go with a friend to watch the cute guys play basketball, and I'd get another tug. If I skipped a meal, same thing. I rubbed my ear and stared at my test paper. The physics problem was too hard. I gave up and went to sleep. In my dream, Leo stormed toward me waving the test. He poked me in the forehead, his voice a mix of frustration and his standard opening lecture. How many times have I explained this type of problem to you? Why can't you remember? I've been teaching you from before I died to after. I'm about to roll over in my grave. It's been 2 months since my best friend, Leo, passed away. A brilliant 17-year-old boy, his life snatched away by a car crash. But I wasn't lost in grief, because I felt like he was still here. My parents are always busy with work and rarely come home, so it's usually just me. Junior year was brutal. After a long night of studying, I'd get home, shower and pass out, tossing my dirty clothes in the laundry machine and forgetting about them. But magically, every morning, they'd be neatly hung on the balcony to dry. The floors were never dirty. My messy desk would be clean and organized by the time I woke up. At first, I thought I was losing my mind, but I gradually became certain. Leo was doing all of this for me. He often came to me in my dreams, tutoring me just like he did when he was alive, endlessly patient. I bombed the monthly math test this time. I didn't bother going over my mistakes. I just went to sleep. In a world of swirling mist, Leo sat at a desk, arms crossed. His handsome, expressive face was stretched into a long, dark frown. The moment he saw me, he lost it. His long finger jabbed my forehead as he launched into his usual scolding. It was the same old stuff. If I didn't get my act together, I wouldn't even get into a decent state school. My life was my own, and I had to be responsible for my future. I should have reviewed my mistakes during study hall instead of doing other homework. Otherwise, I'd just get the same problems wrong next time. I listened obediently, but he didn't know. I did it on purpose. I made mistakes on purpose, pretended I didn't know the answers. It was the only way to get him to come into my dreams and talk to me. Seeing my good attitude, Leo cleared his throat and started explaining the problems. His cool, gentle voice seeped into my ears. He went through several questions, and once he was sure I understood, his brow relaxed. He patted my head. From now on, if you don't know something, ask your teachers more. Don't be afraid to go to their offices. I looked at him. You can't teach me anymore? He paused for a moment. I can't teach you forever. I stood up, a sudden, helpless rage washing over me. I snatched the test from the desk, threw it in his face and screamed, "Then don't ever come back." And then I woke up. It was 4 a.m. The house was empty. No Leo. I buried my face in my blankets and, pathetically, cried for the rest of the night. The next day, I went to school with swollen eyes. I regretted my outburst. Because of my impulsiveness, Leo didn't show up for several days. I stopped dreaming of him. I grew more and more anxious, plagued by one nightmare after another. One minute, I'd see a blood-soaked Leo reaching for me helplessly. The next, I'd see us both dying in that car crash. Finally, I came down with a fever, curled up sick in bed. In my daze, I felt myself being lifted into a warm embrace. A bitter pill was pushed between my lips, followed by warm water. Leo's deep, remorseful voice whispered, "I'm sorry. I was wrong. I couldn't be sure if he was really there." "Don't go," I mumbled. He wasn't the one who was wrong. It was me being selfish. The night before the SATs, Leo was more excited than I was in my dream. He pumped his fist, cheering me on. "Go get Luna. You're the best." The 2 days of testing flew by. As I walked out of the testing center, I took one last look at the campus, a place so full of memories. Memories of me and Leo. On the first day of summer break, a guy named Dylan suddenly texted me, asking if I wanted to see a movie. I sensed something was up. I typed out a refusal, then deleted it. I sent a voice message back. Sure. Suddenly, the temperature around me seemed to drop a few degrees. I rubbed my arms and hid a small smile. That Wednesday night, I went to meet him. Dylan was already there, holding 2 buckets of popcorn and 2 Cokes, grinning from ear to ear. I walked over. "Is the movie about to start?" "Yeah, we can head in." After we sat down, I looked around but didn't see the person I was hoping for. Disappointed, I started chewing on my popcorn, the flavor gone. Dylan seemed a little nervous. I could feel him tensing up beside me, but I was too preoccupied to care. The movie reached a scene where the main characters were sharing a tender kiss. A minute passed and they were still at it. I started to feel awkward and fidgety. Dylan had picked the movie. When he'd sent me the title, I'd agreed without even looking it up. A stupid romance movie. A burning gaze was fixed on my face. I turned my head and saw Dylan staring at me, his eyes shining brightly in the dark theater. My heart skipped a beat. He started leaning in, his face getting closer and closer. I gripped my Coke, but I didn't move away. I was making a bet. The next second, Dylan's scream echoed through the theater. He scrambled out of his seat and ran. I followed him out. He was still in shock, clutching his chest. I quickly asked him what was wrong. His lips were trembling. Just now, there was a face, with blood streaming from its eyes and mouth. It just appeared. Man or woman? What did they look like? I asked, my voice borderline frantic. It was a man. He looked. He ran his hands through his hair, terrified. He looked kind of familiar. We went to the same school. If Dylan really saw Leo, he would have recognized him. I waited for him to say more, but he was clearly too shaken. I swallowed my questions and tried to comfort him. You must have seen it wrong. There are no such things as ghosts. Maybe the light from the movie reflected off my face and made it look pale? We walked along the river. Dylan had calmed down and was muttering to himself, starting to doubt his own eyes. Maybe I really did see it wrong. Exactly. Your eyes were playing tricks on you. He scratched the back of his head, finally feeling embarrassed. Sorry about that. I must have looked like an idiot, and I ruined the movie for you. It's okay. We can see one some other time. I said it dismissively, my eyes scanning the people passing by, searching for that familiar face. A frustration was building inside me. I turned to Dylan and smiled. I've seen you play basketball on the court before. You're really good. My friend even said you're tall and handsome, and wanted to get your number. That part was true, but I wasn't trying to compliment him. I thought I heard a heavy, restrained breath next to me. Dylan blushed, scratching his eyebrow and looking away. So, what do you think of me? He asked quietly. I kept the praise coming. You're great. You're athletic, good-looking, you get good grades, and you have a great personality. You're pretty much perfect in my book. Someone finally snapped. That kid loses to me every time we play. What good skills. His grades are worse than mine, he's not as tall as me, and he's not as handsome. Luna, are you blind? The top student in our year is standing right in front of you. For crying out loud, open your eyes and look. Leo's voice trailed off as I turned to where it was coming from. There was nothing there. No one. I tried calling out Leo. No answer. Dylan couldn't seem to hear him, but he heard me and his eyes widened. Leo. But isn't he? Then he saw the tears welling up in my eyes. He froze, fumbling for a tissue. Why are you crying? Sorry, I said, rubbing my eyes. I have to go. I'll Venmo you for the popcorn. Without waiting for a response, I ran to the bus stop. I got home quickly, kicked off my shoes, and turned on the lights. The house was dead silent. I looked around. I know you're here. Why won't you show yourself? I miss you so much. Can't you just let me see you? We promised we'd go to the same college. How could you leave me all alone? Leo. 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 I sank to the floor, repeating his name until my throat was raw and tears streamed down my face. A warm hand touched my cheek, wiping away the tears. Someone sighed. Don't cry. I'm here. My eyes shot open. I looked left and right. Leo. Still, I couldn't see him. I can't see you? I asked hesitantly. I can only hear your voice. Leo was quiet for a moment. You really want to see me, don't you? I nodded frantically. I think about you day and night, when I'm eating, when I'm sleeping. If you don't show up soon, I'm going to die of a broken heart. Leo chuckled, his voice soft. You'll see me tomorrow. I promise. I thought he was just trying to placate me and was about to get angry, but a heavy sleepiness suddenly washed over me. Leo lifted me into his arms. Before I closed my eyes, I vaguely saw the outline of his face, like a black silhouette. Go to sleep. I woke up in the morning, sunlight streaming through the window. Last night felt like a dream. Morning. I shot up in bed. Leo was leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, a crooked smile on his face. His handsome face was as radiant as I remembered, full of a teenager's vibrant energy. I got out of bed and walked toward him, step by step, until I was just inches away. I stopped, reached out, and carefully traced the lines of his handsome brows and eyes. I was so afraid he'd disappear in the next second. Leo's Adam's apple bobbed. His long lashes fluttered. We just looked at each other, a world of pain and separation in our gazes. Just as he was about to take my wrist, I pinched his cheek. It was firm and springy. His skin was so smooth. It felt real. Did you eat the chocolate cookies in my drawer? He froze. The tender atmosphere vanished. Leo scratched his hair and laughed, raising an eyebrow at me. Well, I happened to see them when I was cleaning up for you. I've been your free tutor for so long. You can't spare a few little cookies? I stared at his moving lips, then threw my arms around him and buried my face in his chest. From now on, you can have as many as you want. I'll buy them for you. Just please don't go, okay? He didn't answer, just let me hold him. The wind blew the curtains, stirring a young man's heart. Leo looked out the window. The sunlight fell into his eyes, but it was like it fell into a deep pool, creating no light at all. Leo told me that I was the only one who could see his physical form. No one else could see or hear him. Dylan had sent me a few messages, but I gave him the cold shoulder, and eventually we drifted apart. July 3rd was my birthday. I didn't tell anyone, just bought a small 6-inch cake and took it home. I only wanted to celebrate with Leo. I made a wish, the same one as always, for Leo to be with me forever. After blowing out the candles, we started a childish cake fight, smearing frosting on each other's faces. I scooped up a glob of frosting and went straight for Leo's face. He dodged left and right, but I couldn't get a good grip. The creamy frosting skimmed past his cheek and landed right on his lips. He happened to have his mouth slightly open, and my finger slipped right inside. His soft tongue brushed against my fingertip. I froze. He turned to stone, the tips of his ears turning red so fast I could see it happen. Time stopped. A moment later, Leo frowned, pulled my finger out of his mouth and spat a few times. Your hand is bitter, he said, disgusted. You wasted the frosting. And just like that, time started again. I balled my fists and punched him. Your hand is bitter. After messing around for a while, it was finally time to cut the cake. Wait, let's take a picture first. I held up my phone for a selfie with him. Leo flashed a brilliant smile, his face and even his bangs smeared with frosting. He looked ridiculous. I snapped a few pictures, but when I looked through them, I froze. My fingertips went cold. My blood turned to ice. The happiness I'd felt recently started to crack. The photos only showed me. There was no Leo. The Leo the first had now couldn't be photographed. I knew he was different now, but when the reality was laid bare in front of me, the pain was still sharp and overwhelming. He was cutting the cake and noticed my sudden stiffness. What's wrong? His expression faltered as if he remembered something. He reached for my phone. Is it? I turned off my phone and tossed it aside, forcing a laugh. You look terrible in pictures, not photogenic at all. I deleted them all so I don't have to look at them. Hey, what are you talking about? I'm a total heartthrob. I look good no matter what. He played along, and we both tacitly agreed not to mention the photos again. We each had a small slice and put the rest in the fridge. I took a shower, and when I came out, Leo was clean again. I glanced at the clock. 11:20 p.m. Leo stroked my hair and faked a yawn. Time for bed, little girl. My heart stirred. I remembered last year, when he celebrated my birthday with me. After the cake, we went for a walk in the park, sitting on the grass and talking. The night sky was quiet, the moonlight beautiful. Leo had tucked a stray strand of hair behind my ear. His bright eyes seemed to outshine the moon. He lowered his gaze, leaning in close, but stopped just short, his lips pressed into a firm, restrained line. Just one more year. In a year, we'll be adults and then we can. I was blushing so hard I jumped to my feet, cutting him off. Let's go home, it's getting late. Your mom's going to kill you. I knew what he wanted to say. When we turned 18, we could be together, officially. And now we had met the condition, but he didn't mention it at all. He just told me to go to sleep. I knew things were different now, but I was still angry. Are you sleeping on the couch? I asked. He looked stunned, then gave me a pathetic look. Where else? Are you kicking me out? I'd be a poor, lonely ghost wandering the streets at night. How tragic. You don't sleep at all. I called him out. Or rather, you don't need to sleep anymore. Every night, you stand outside my door and watch me until the moment before I wake up. Then you run back to the living room. The look in his eyes. It was as if he wanted to spend the rest of his existence, with all his strength, just looking at me, to carve my image into his very soul, as if missing a single glance would be an irreplaceable loss. Leo's face flushed crimson. He stammered, a rare sight of him flustered and at a loss for words. Finally, he came up with a lame excuse that was both ridiculous and cute. I was just afraid you'd kick off your blankets. He defended himself quietly. I'm not a pervert. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed his collar and dragged him toward my room. Leo thought I was going to beat him up, but still let me pull him along. Go easy on me. My face is my fortune, ow. I shoved him onto the bed. His head hit the soft pillows with a small cry, and whatever he was about to say next was lost between our lips. Leo's eyes flew open, his pupils shaking violently. I felt like a villain forcing myself on an innocent maiden, pressing him down and kissing him wildly. To be honest, I wasn't a great kisser. I mostly just got spit all over his face. It was clumsy and awkward, our lips bumping until they were numb. His hand rested on my waist, then let go, then came back again, never applying any pressure. I think he wanted to grip me tighter, to hold me close, but he never did. I had wrinkled his black t-shirt. My kisses had left his lips a bright red, and his eyes were misty with a suggestive haze, like a fox spirit from a story that steals men's souls. He pushed me away and sat up, trying to calm his racing chest. He turned his head away, his voice hoarse. That's enough. I lay on top of him, listening quietly. There was no heartbeat. He could move, his body was warm, but his heart had already stopped. But I loved him so much. Let's be together, I said in a muffled voice. He stiffened. We can't. He stopped, hearing my choked sobs. He cupped my face, frantically wiping away my tears. What are you crying for? Don't cry, don't cry. You're dropping all your little gold coins. Let's be together, okay? I sobbed. His movements slowed, his eyes filling with a deep sadness. I started wailing, crying my eyes out. Okay, we'll be together. We'll never be apart again, Leo said, pulling me into his arms and stroking my back. I sniffled, wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed him again. That night, we shared a long, tender kiss. I always thought Leo would eventually leave me to be reincarnated. But he didn't. When I was 18, he looked 17. When I was 19, he looked 17. Now I'm 22, and he's still the same 17-year-old boy. His hair never grows, he never gets taller. The boy is forever frozen at 17. When I went to college, I rented an off-campus apartment. If my roommates saw me talking to thin air all day, they'd probably think I was crazy. Leo was always by my side. He was there when I was in class, and he listened more attentively than I did. He was there during club activities, and he was there when I got home. I felt completely safe. It would have been even better if he didn't stop me from napping or playing on my phone. With Leo, a super genius, by my side, being top of my class every year was no longer a dream. I was raking in scholarships. Right now, we were at the supermarket. Of course, Leo was there too, chattering away. This tomato is no good, you can tell it's mushy, not tasty. That one looks good. Let's get some shrimp. I'll make you garlic butter shrimp tonight. We're almost out of beef at home, quick, restock. This meat doesn't look fresh. Ugh, these sellers are so shameless. Don't they know our college student Luna has a heavy workload and needs her nutrients? I, the college student with way more free time than in high school, stifled a laugh. Since we couldn't have products levitating on their own, Leo couldn't touch anything. He could only watch from the side, telling me what to buy. When we got back to the apartment, He did all the cooking. Luna. I looked up from the beef. Chris, the president of the music club, smiled at me. He held up a tomato. Fancy seeing you here. Buying groceries? I nodded. Hey Chris. That was our greeting, and we went our separate ways. But as Chris passed me, I felt, maybe mistakenly, that he cast a meaningful glance at the spot next to me. The spot where Leo was standing. I must have been imagining things. After raiding the snack aisle, our cart was full. The pain in Leo's eyes was about to overflow. He reached out and pulled his hand back, over and over. Maybe you should put some back. Luna will have to carry so much, it'll be tough. I waved it off. It's nothing. It's 2 bags, tops. Have you forgotten how I used to sprint around with a backpack half my size in elementary school? After checking out, I heard Chris's voice behind me. Luna, wait up. I stopped. He caught up to me and glanced down at the veins popping on the back of my hand. Let me help you with that. I'm heading back that way anyway. No, it's fine. I'm not going back to campus, I live off campus. It's okay. You're heading that way, right? The school is in the same direction. I'll just help you for a little bit. Carrying all this stuff, your arms must be getting tired. As he spoke, he took the bag from my left hand. I couldn't refuse, so I let him. Well, thanks, Chris. Leo's fingers curled slightly, his gaze dimming in a way I couldn't see. Haha, no problem. He looked at the bags. Are you living with someone? You bought so many groceries. No. I couldn't let anyone know about Leo, it was too hard to explain. I just have a big fridge, so I like to stock up. Chris's eyes lingered on my face for a second before he smiled. I see. Back at the apartment, I collapsed onto the sofa. I'm exhausted. Leo, come give me a hug. He sat down in a chair, silently rubbing the red marks on my wrist from the plastic bags. That's when I realized Leo hadn't said a word the entire way home. Usually, when we were out, I wouldn't talk to him much, but he could talk to himself for ages. He was a total chatterbox. I narrowed my eyes, thought for a moment, and tilted his chin up. What's wrong? Not talking. Are you jealous? He pursed his lips and forced a smile. No. I leaned in and kissed his lips. Don't overthink it. There's nothing between me and Chris. You're always with me, you know we barely interact. Today was just a coincidence. I'll only ever love you, forever and ever. I know. I'm really not jealous, he said, pinching my cheek. I love Luna the most too. I'm going to go make dinner. Leo didn't need to eat, but he would always have a little with me. After dinner, he insisted on doing the dishes. It was great. That night, I had Leo pinned under the covers, kissing him. I nibbled his lips, kissed his cheeks, then worked my way down to his collarbone. Years of practice had made my kissing skills leap to a whole new level. The sound of our lips meeting was enough to make anyone blush. Leo flipped me over, pressing me into the mattress. A restrained frenzy lit a fire in his eyes. He leaned down and breathed hotly in my ear. You're such a tease. You start a fire and then refuse to put it out. Then put it out, I said, my hand stroking his waist, my fingers sliding under his shirt. My hand was caught and swatted away. Leo pushed himself off the bed and retreated to the bathroom in defeat. The door slammed shut. I blinked. A few R-rated scenarios popped into my head. I didn't sleep well that night. I felt hot and stuffy, like I was being held too tightly. In a half-dream state, I heard Leo whispering my name over and over again. Luna. Luna. I wish I could stay with you forever. His voice was filled with a love that was helpless and desperate. Lately, Leo hadn't been looking well. His once rosy cheeks were now just pale. Technically, he wasn't human anymore, so I didn't dare give him human medicine. He had a little porridge this morning. I wanted to call in sick to take care of him, but he refused, so I just had to make him promise to rest in bed. I didn't know that the moment I closed the door, Leo ran to the bathroom and threw up the little bit of pumpkin porridge he'd managed to eat. I started running into Chris more and more often. Occasionally, he'd ask if I wanted to get lunch at the cafeteria. I always politely declined, but one day, I had something to do for the club, so I didn't go home. I told Leo not to save me any food. It was annoying that this one little thing, having lunch with Chris, was enough for people to start a rumor that we were dating. My roommate Tanya looked at me with a gossipy glint in her eye. When did you two get together? Spill the details. Teach me your ways of catching a handsome guy. I waved my hands. There's nothing going on. We're just classmates. It's not what you think, so don't let your imagination run wild. Hey Luna. Chris had appeared behind me at some point. He walked over. What a coincidence. What are you guys talking about? Tanya let out a little ooh and slipped away. You two talk. Luna, you can teach me later. Bye. My eyebrow twitched. Still, I asked politely, can I help you with something, Chris? Want to see a movie this weekend? My friend bailed on me last minute, and I already bought the tickets. He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. It'd be a waste to let one go, so I thought I'd invite you. I just looked at him without saying anything. Wow, what a cliché excuse, I thought. Looks like people aren't completely blind. I'd bet $1 this guy probably, maybe has a crush on me. Under my steady gaze, he threw his hands up in surrender. A small smile played on his lips, a little embarrassed at being caught. Okay, fine. The truth is, I want to ask you to a movie. Are you free this weekend? I shook my head and decided to give him a hint. I'm going to an amusement park with my boyfriend this weekend. He tilted his head. Boyfriend? You mean the male ghost who's always with you? Alarm bells went off in my head, but I kept my face neutral and pretended to be scared. What ghost? Chris, don't scare me like that. Chris smiled. Don't be so nervous. At first, I noticed something strange about your lifespan, but lately, it's stabilized. That ghost has been with you for a while, right? I can tell he doesn't mean you any harm. How about this? You go to the movie with me, and in return, I'll give you back a memory. How does that sound? I was still a bit dazed when I got back to the apartment. I did have a missing memory, right after Leo's accident. I was sick for a whole month, my mind hazy from a high fever. Maybe Leo's death was too much of a shock for me. My parents were the ones who told me the date of the accident. Thinking back on their hesitant expressions, I suddenly felt that things weren't so simple. They were hiding something from me. Leo was hiding something from me, too. Including how Leo went from an invisible spirit to a solid ghost who could stay by my side. He never told me why. Actually, solid or not, a ghost lingering in the world for so many years. That wasn't right, was it? I was afraid to ask him. I was afraid he'd leave. I couldn't lose Leo. After dinner, I curled up in Leo's arms to watch TV. I could feel he had something on his mind lately. He was right there, but he felt distant. I played with his long, slender fingers. Chris asked me to see a movie with him this weekend. I thought he would blow up, maybe even float over there and scare the guy, just like he did years ago. He was quiet for 3 seconds, then his voice was strangely flat. Then you should go. What? I looked up at him. What did you say? You're okay with it? The light from the screen flickered in his eyes. His pale face was emotionless, a deep, cold indifference in his expression. Luna, I have to go soon. I froze. Go. Go where? To be reincarnated. I've been here too long. It's time for me to leave. I don't want to live like a lonely ghost. I want a next life too. I grabbed his hand, my eyes stinging. I know that. But can't you go later? Can't you wait for me? If you leave now, what am I supposed to do? Luna, people and ghosts can't be together. He slowly and firmly pulled his hand away from mine and sighed. I shouldn't have been weak and stayed. It's my fault for making you sad. But he looked at me, his voice calm. I've been with you for 4 years, Luna. You can't be this selfish. I have my own path to walk. Maybe he had a reason he had to leave, a reason he could have explained, but he chose to say it in the most hurtful way possible. The pain was like being carved up, bone by bone. It hurt so much I couldn't breathe. So, in the end, I was the selfish one, forcing him to stay. On the weekend, I went to meet him as planned. I've only been to the movies a handful of times in my life, and both times I couldn't focus. A voice in my head was screaming that it wasn't true, that Leo had his reasons. His pale face, his increasingly thin frame, it all pointed to the fact that his physical form was probably failing. He was saying those cruel things to make me forget him. But I was still hurt. Leo had never said a harsh word to me before. And what if this was all just my wishful thinking? Halfway through the movie, Chris pulled me out of the theater. What's wrong? I asked, annoyed. He gave me a wounded look. You're not paying attention. Your mind is somewhere else. There's no point in watching a movie with you. I rubbed my nose. Sorry. Whatever. Come on. He led me to a secluded place. On the way, he explained. My grandfather was a psychic. I grew up around it and learned a few things. The first time I saw you, I noticed something was off. Your aura was dark, almost black. You were a living person, but your life force was nearly gone. The next time I saw you, it had miraculously returned. I suspect it has something to do with the male ghost who's always with you. Chris smiled candidly. It's true that I like you, but I'm also curious about what's going on with you. But it seems you're not interested in me, and I'm not the type to bother someone who's not interested. If we can't be lovers, can we still be friends? I was so stunned by his words that I couldn't speak for a moment. After a pause, I nodded. We can still be friends. He pulled a translucent flower from his pocket. It glowed with a faint blue light in the dark, so beautiful it didn't seem of this world. He pricked his finger and smeared a drop of blood on a petal. A white light flared. I closed my eyes and found myself in a swirling chaos, then suddenly entered a clear scene. I saw myself and Leo. Both of us, lying in a pool of blood. Leo's eyes were wide open, one blood-soaked hand reaching desperately in my direction, as if trying to grab me. I remembered. It wasn't just Leo who was in the car crash. I was too. We both died. I wandered the underworld for a long time, but I never saw Leo. I didn't want to forget him, so I refused to drink the crone's soup of oblivion. Just then a storm hit the underworld. The crone rushed to protect her soup. The guards were busy maintaining order, and everything was chaotic. I took the chance to escape. I stumbled around and somehow ended up in a dark cave. I dazedly ran back into my body. The heart monitor started beeping again. But my soul had been separated from my body for too long. My parents' joy was short-lived, replaced by worry as I developed a high fever that made them lose half their hair. My condition only improved after they hired a master to perform a ritual. The master warned my parents not to tell me I'd been to the brink of death and back, for fear of shocking my system. And I, sick and delirious, with a fractured memory, naturally believed them when they said I'd fallen ill from grief. The scene shifted. A disheveled Leo was pleading with a chain-wielding reaper. He was as talkative as ever. Sir, can't you just let her go? It's already so tragic she was in a car crash. She's only 17, so innocent and kind, she wouldn't even hurt an ant. She's a good student, so driven. She's one of our nation's budding flowers. Can you really bear to take her? The reaper was stone-faced. Everyone has their fate. Say no more. She's already broken the rules of the underworld by escaping for so many days. Leo pressed his lips together. Then I'll trade my next life for her to live this one to the fullest. The reaper glanced at him. Why? You could just wait. After you're reincarnated, you might meet again in the next life. Leo didn't speak. The reaper's eyes widened in understanding. You kid. When did you peek at my book of life and death? Leo begged. This is her last life as a human. Luna has no next life. Please have mercy. Let me give her my years. The reaper asked, is it worth it? I'll tell you now, in your next life, you're fated to live to a ripe old age of 80. Leo said, of course it's worth it. I'll give all 80 of my years to Luna. And if I may, I'd like to ask for one more thing. I want to stay with her for a few more years, even as a ghost. When my time is up, you can just scatter my soul. The reaper let out a cackle. You're a devoted one, kid. Fine. Seeing how sincere you are, I'll let the whole peeking at my book thing slide. I'll grant your request. So how many years do you want? Leo thought for a moment and asked for the moon. 10 years. The reaper's face fell. No deal. 6 years at most. Leo said, all right, that works. Knowing the truth, I rushed back. Chris shouted after me, watch where you're going, don't fall. I went home and ran into Leo at the elevator. His eyes flickered. He blinked away the tears and forced a natural expression. I have to go, Luna. From now on, you have to live well. I grabbed his hand and pressed the button for the 5th floor. The elevator shot up. Luna, you were going to let your soul be scattered, weren't you? Without telling me? He sucked in a breath. You know everything? I opened the door. Before I could say anything, Leo's face suddenly changed, and he ran to the bathroom. He was retching violently. That's when I realized he couldn't eat human food anymore. To keep me from worrying, to not spoil my fun, he had pretended everything was normal and ate with me. Just a few days ago, I'd been so excited to cook for him. He'd eaten a full bowl under my expectant gaze, smiling and telling me how delicious it was, praising my talent in the kitchen. How could you be so foolish? I cried, wiping the filth from his lips with a tissue. Leo gave a bitter smile, his face so pale it was almost transparent. I'm useless. I can't even eat with you anymore. But didn't the Reaper say 6 years? It's only been 4. He lowered his lashes and coughed softly. I suddenly understood, a bitter taste filling my throat. You traded 2 years to become solid and see me, didn't you? Yes. He wiped away my tears. I thought just watching you would be enough, but I couldn't help myself. I kept doing things. The floors were dirty, the desk was a mess, you couldn't find your test papers, you didn't hang your laundry, you ate takeout all the time, you gave up on problems you couldn't solve. You really made this old man worry. You were so bad at taking care of yourself back then. How could I leave you in peace? I wanted to laugh, but as my lips twitched, more tears fell. Then you really can't go. If I make you so worried, aren't you afraid I'll be a total mess after you leave? I want to stay too. Leo raised his hand and gently stroked my face. But things don't always go as we wish. It's my fault. I shouldn't have given you hope just to let you down, to make you so sad. I knew you didn't like Dylan, that you were just using him to make me jealous. But watching you praise him, laugh with him, I still couldn't help but get jealous. Every word he spoke was an effort, punctuated by a gasp for air. If I had just watched you from afar, if I hadn't let you know I was there, if I hadn't agreed to become solid, if I hadn't agreed to be your boyfriend, then maybe you wouldn't be here crying, would you? I'm such a bad person. I just kept shaking my head, crying so hard I couldn't breathe, holding him tighter as a massive wave of grief washed over me. Don't be sad, Luna. People have to move forward. If you look forward, you'll find someone better than me. Our Luna is smart and beautiful. She deserves the best. His eyes curved into a gentle smile, as warm as a spring day. So after I'm gone, you have to live well, you have to be happy. Luna has always been a strong little girl, right? I was sobbing uncontrollably, holding him and unable to form a complete sentence. Leo was turning transparent, his body dissolving into faint white motes of light that floated upward. Don't go. Don't go. I was frantic, trying to catch the floating specks of light. They would gather in my palm, only to slip through my fingers a second later. Luna, don't be like this. He took my flailing hands. His eyes were red and wet, but he gave me a reassuring smile. I'm just with you in a different way now. As long as you want me to be, I'll always be in your heart. I've never left. The thousands of light specks scattered, leaving my arms empty. The last of Leo's warmth faded away. Leo was gone. I never knew what it was like to lose someone. It was a pain worse than death. But every time I thought about jumping from the 18th floor, I remembered that my life was a gift from Leo. If I died, it would be over for me, but it would be a betrayal of his sacrifice. I never liked the taste of alcohol, but now I was addicted. Empty beer cans littered the floor. My head throbbed, but the more I drank, the clearer my mind became. And the clearer my mind, the more I suffered. No one dies just because someone else is gone, but I was just that pathetic. Without Leo, the world had lost its color. Leo was wrong. I wasn't strong at all. I didn't like to work hard. I wasn't proactive about anything. Without him, I would have given up faster than anyone. When I was little, every time I fell, I would cry my eyes out. Leo would always appear, check my scrapes, and then tease me for being a crybaby. You cry like this over a little scrape? What a baby. Stop crying, I'll buy you some candy. Then he'd wipe my tears and give me a piggyback ride to the store. I'd swing my short legs on his back, thinking, it's your fault I'm like this. You spoiled me. Leo had always been weak to my tears. He cared about me more than anyone. Even if I made him angry, even if I was the one in the wrong, the moment I started to cry, he would immediately soften his voice and comfort me. I would wrap my arms around his neck, a possessive feeling already budding in my young heart. Leo could only be mine. He could only be good to me. Through elementary, middle, and high school, he helped me with my homework. If it weren't for his constant supervision and patient guidance, I never would have been in the top 30 of my class. Even joining the music club in college was because Leo said I had a beautiful voice and encouraged me to try. When I was on stage, I was so nervous I almost went off key. If he hadn't been in the audience, waving his arms like a cheerleader and shouting things only I could hear, "You got this, Luna. You're the best," I wouldn't have been able to finish a single song. In everything I did, Leo was there, paving the way for me. He gave me the confidence to walk every step without fear. Even if something unexpected happened, he would be there to catch me. He was my playmate, my rock, my love. He occupied the most special, most important part of my life. But now I had lost him. I was lost like a piece of driftwood in the ocean, unable to see the future, with no goal, no direction, just waiting for the tide to pull me under. Time flew by. Before I knew it, I had graduated. I found a job in my field, and life was relatively quiet. But my health kept getting worse. I started to doubt what the Reaper had said. The way I was, getting sick every other day, how could I possibly live to be 80? I chewed on a chocolate cookie, Leo's favorite, and my mind drifted back to the start of middle school. Back then, Leo had a bike, and so did I, but I was too lazy to ride mine. I preferred to hitch a ride on the back of his. Leo was happy to let me. But one day during lunch, I was standing in the hallway and saw Leo giving another girl a ride to the store. I was so angry my hair nearly caught fire. At 13, I had already designated the back of Leo's bike as my exclusive seat. How could he just let someone else ride there? During the break that afternoon, he came to find me with a bag of snacks. We weren't in the same class then. I gave him the cold shoulder, knocked the bag out of his hands, and said a bunch of passive-aggressive things to spite him. My childish pride kept me from mentioning what really made me angry. He did get angry and left, throwing over his shoulder, "If I ever buy you snacks again, I'm a dog." That day, I was sure Leo wouldn't give me a ride home. It started pouring in the evening. I put on my raincoat and hurried home, but the cold rain still seeped into my collar. Suddenly, Leo shot past me on his bike. He saw me soaked and miserable, and his anger flared, but he didn't forget to hold his umbrella over my head. "Why didn't you wait for me today? I waited for you at school for half an hour, and you just take off in a storm like this. What if you catch a cold?" His shouting left me stunned. A strange, burning pain filled my chest, mixed with the misery of being caught in the rain. I let out a wail and started crying. Leo froze. His anger vanished, replaced by a look of pain and regret. He pulled out a tissue to wipe my wet tears and bangs. "It's all my fault. I knew you were in a bad mood this afternoon, and I still said those things to upset you. Don't cry. I'll take you home. From now on, if something's bothering you, will you tell me? And if you're still upset after talking, you can punch me a couple of times to let it out." I put down the cookie, my face blank. Leo was wrong again. There would never be anyone better than him in this world. One day, the pain in my stomach was unbearable. I rushed to the hospital. The bad news was I had liver cancer. The worst news was it was terminal. When I got the report, it felt expected. Of course. All those sleepless nights, never once feeling happy, living like a zombie. It was only natural I'd get sick. Even with 80 years of life, I managed to destroy it all myself. My parents came back from out of town. Lying in the hospital bed, with a ringing in my ears, I watched their moving lips and red-rimmed eyes. A wave of guilt and pain for them washed over me. But mostly, I felt a sense of release. My body trembled with pain. Through my blurry, tear-filled eyes, I saw Leo's face. He was standing by my bed, holding out his hand. The handsome, elegant boy's eyes were curved in a bright smile, his little canine teeth just visible. "Come on, Luna. I'll take you out to play." Just like he used to when he came to my house on the weekends when we were little. A tear slipped down my cheek. I shakily reached out my hand. This time, it didn't pass through him like in a dream. Leo's hand was warm. He took mine and we flew away, into a world of brilliant color. The Reaper raised an eyebrow as he looked at the book of life and death. The number 80 had instantly changed to 25. Hey, what's with this girl? He started to grumble, but his voice trailed off. He let out a long sigh. This thing called love. It's a real mystery. A pity about those two kids. One with no next life, the other with his soul scattered. It's a real shame. Hey, Blackie, what are you muttering about? Dinner's ready. His white-robed partner called out. Coming. The Reaper put down the book and hurried out. A small child in a red bib crawled out from under the table. The child was a relative of the king of the underworld, a little tyrant who ran roughshod over the realm. He had been looking for the Reaper to play, but had accidentally fallen asleep under the table while waiting. He woke up just in time to hear the Reaper's monologue. The book of life and death was still open to that page. The child looked at the names Leo and Luna, and a thoughtful expression crossed his face. One with a scattered soul, the other with no next life. That was just too tragic. A boy's name and a girl's name. They were clearly a pair. Dying so young. They must have had regrets. The child's round eyes darted around. He took the brush in his chubby hand and next to both of their names, added 70 years of life. Then with a flick of his wrist he made the troublesome phrases soul scattered and no next life disappear. The child looked at his masterpiece with satisfaction. When you too are reborn, you'd better thank me. He closed the book of life and death, and hopped off the chair. All right, time to eat. The end.